Since he was born, the second son of the late Queen Elizabeth, brother of the King, has been known as Prince Andrew, but no longer.
It's monumental what the King has done. He has acted almost with the determination of a medieval monarch.
If you were told that one of the biggest problems inside Royal Lodge right now is not money, not titles, and not even where Sarah Ferguson and the former Duke of York will live next, but piles and piles of unopened Amazon boxes, you might assume it was a joke, something exaggerated for effect. But according to people who have spoken publicly about what is happening behind the scenes, this is being treated as a very real and very serious issue for staff. Royal Lodge, the sprawling 30-room mansion set deep inside Windsor Great Park, is meant to be vacated in 2026. After years of tension with the King over repairs, funding, and Andrew's continued presence there, the message is now clear. The house is no longer meant to be his base. Sarah Ferguson, despite being divorced from Andrew for decades, is also expected to leave.
His fall from grace is finally complete, stripped of everything, from his titles to his home.
On paper, the plan sounds straightforward. In reality, it appears anything but. Royal author Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor recently said that staff at Royal Lodge are dealing with a vast accumulation of belongings, including so many unopened Amazon boxes that they don't know what to do with them. That detail alone raised eyebrows. But when paired with reporting from the Mail, it begins to paint a far more troubling picture. According to the Mail, rooms inside Royal Lodge are filled with clutter, with some anterooms stacked right up to the ceiling with documents and photographs. Sources described a house that is not simply well lived in, but overwhelmed. The Mail went so far as to describe Andrew as a natural hoarder, someone who has filled rooms with possessions and was not prepared to accept help sorting through his private collections.
It's a much bigger, darker story than just who's going to live where.
This is not just a casual mess. It's decades of accumulation. What makes the situation even more interesting is how the move out is being handled. The Mail claims that items from Royal Lodge have been removed at night, loaded onto trucks and transported to a Windsor storage facility belonging to the Crown Estate. Not during the day, not openly, quietly in the dark. That detail matters because it shows the sensitivity, urgency, and perhaps embarrassment of the situation. If this were a routine move, there would be no need for such secrecy. But this is certainly not routine. This is one of the most controversial figures in modern royal history, being slowly disentangled from a property he was never really meant to keep forever. Despite these nocturnal removals, sources say it is still going to take some time to get Andrew out. And the reason appears to be simple. There is just too much stuff. And Andrew himself is not willing to engage with the process.
As of now, the brother of the King no longer a prince. In a statement, Buckingham Palace announced His Majesty has today initiated a formal process to remove the style, titles and honours of Prince Andrew.
According to the Mail, Andrew was not prepared to accept help sorting through his private collections. That resistance aligns with what royal watchers have said about him for years. Andrew is known to dislike interference, to resist change, and to believe that others should accommodate him rather than the other way around. And then there are the teddies. Reports about Andrew's collection of teddy bears have circulated for years, often treated as a quirky footnote. But in the context of this move, they take on a different tone. According to reports, Andrew is deeply concerned about how his teddy bears will cope with leaving Royal Lodge. One source claimed he sees them as companions and believes Royal Lodge was their home too. The source went further, saying that being forced to move has sent Andrew into what they described as a full-on meltdown. He reportedly keeps telling people the bears will not cope with the change, projecting his own emotions onto them in a way the source likened to a child.
In separating his brother Andrew from all elements of title and style that normally people who are born into the royal family keep.
Whether one takes that report literally or not, it reinforces a broader pattern. Andrew forms attachments to objects and spaces, and he struggles when those are taken away. This now explains the headlines that he's been dragging his feet with the move. This obsession has added strain to already stressed staff. Andrew has a reputation for strict rules and expectations, and now those staff are tasked with navigating not only a logistical nightmare, but the emotional resistance of the man at the centre of it. All of this is happening against a backdrop that makes the timing particularly awkward. In the same week that the Mail was reporting on cluttered rooms and nighttime removals, Andrew was seen attending the christening of his granddaughter at the Chapel Royal in St James's Palace. The Chapel Royal is one of the most private and symbolic spaces in the royal world. Access to it is entirely at the discretion of the king. And just as Andrew slipped into that deeply privileged setting, probably feeling quite uplifted by it, images linked to Jeffrey Epstein began circulating again.
I mean, to me, I look at that and I think that it's an attention seeker. Do you really think that King Charles is going to stop in his tracks and say,
actually,
yeah, you're going to get the exclusive. Today, it's all about you. So I'm annoyed by that. I think that there were some fair questions shouted at him. But
one photo, showing Andrew alongside Bill Gates, spread rapidly online. It later emerged that the image was a cropped version of a professionally taken photograph available through a global agency. But the damage was done. The Epstein scandal continues to resurface, mutate, and embarrass the monarchy. And yet, on the very day those images were circulating globally, Andrew and Sarah were attending a family gathering. It raised questions about how much tolerance still exists behind palace walls, even as efforts are made to quietly remove Andrew from Royal Lodge. According to the Mail, Andrew is expected to move into what sources described as a shoebox-sized holding property on a remote part of King Charles's private Norfolk estate at Sandringham. For someone used to Royal Lodge, this represents a dramatic downgrade. And for a known hoarder, it presents an obvious problem. What happens to everything that will not fit? Lawney has suggested that Andrew may ultimately spend much of his time abroad, particularly in Bahrain, where he has reportedly been promised use of a lavish palace. If that is true, the Sandringham property may serve more as a token base than a real home. Which brings us back to Royal Lodge, and the clutter still filling it. As 2026 approaches, the question is no longer whether Andrew and Sarah should leave Royal Lodge. That decision appears to have been made at the highest level. The real question is whether Andrew, in particular, will ever truly be ready to let go. How long will he drag his feet? I want to know what you think. Does this sound like simple disorganisation, or does it point to something deeper about Andrew's refusal to accept his changed reality? And do you believe he will actually be out of Royal Lodge by 2026? Or will the clutter, the delays, and the resistance quietly keep him there longer than planned? If you enjoy these videos on what's really happening behind palace gates, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.